So I'm doing this quickly, but I am in Amazon, and if you know Amazon or any other cloud, you can launch machines. So I'm going to launch Amazon Linux 2 on the small machine T2 Micro, and I will allow the security groups to allow port 22 so I can SSH into my machine, and I will also allow port 9092 so I can use the Kafka port from this machine I'm launching on the web. So now I'll go ahead and launch it. And so my Kafka machine is starting. Now the important thing to notice is that it has a public IP and it has a private IP. Currently, because I'll be connecting to my computer from the outside, I'm not on the private network of AWS, I'll have to use the public IP. So, but just for you to note, if your whole Kafka cluster and applications were on your private IP, this is what you would use. So the machine is now launched, and I will go and SSH onto it. So I am fully SSH onto my machine now. And so if I look at my machine, for example, I have the public IP, the private IP 172.31.39.207. So I'm SSH onto it, and I have to go ahead and download Kafka. So I go to Kafka Downloads, and I will take the first link, which is the one right here. I'll go ahead and copy the link address. Now I'll do a wget on this, and things work. I'm going to extract it, so I'll extract that Kafka. I'm going to make sure that Java is installed and is version 8. So Java is not installed, so I'm going to install it right now. So sudo yum install java 180 minus openjdk. Okay, so this looks good. I press yes. And now after Java is installed, I should be able to do java minus version and see that my Java is version number 8. So let's have a look at it. Java minus version, and Java is number 8. Excellent. So now if I look in my directory, I'm going to go into my Kafka directory that I just downloaded, and we can look at the files we have bin, config, libs, sitedoc, etc., etc. Now, one thing I have to do before starting Kafka is, because I have a small machine, I need to export Kafka heap options to be equal to this. So this is something that says that 256 megabytes of memory will go to Kafka maximum, which is what we need to be able to start Kafka on a very small machine. So this is something you can copy and paste from the code. And now we are ready to start Zookeeper. So bin Zookeeper server start, and then we'll pass in the config Zookeeper properties, and we'll run this in daemon mode. So this is in the background, daemon. And so here Zookeeper is started. And now I need to go ahead and start Kafka. So I'll do Kafka server start.sh, and we'll do config Kafka server.properties. As you can see, Kafka is now starting, and at the end, Kafka says ID is equal 0, started. So if I go ahead and open a new shell, I should be able to do a Kafka console producer on my Bootstrap server, and I need to use the public IP of Kafka. So I'll go ahead and use this one. Bootstrap server is this port 9092, and the topic is my topic. Okay, so here we go, and I need to have broker list instead of Bootstrap server. So broker list, and here we go. I say hello, and what's happening is that I get a bunch of exceptions. So basically, I get a leader not available, which is the topic is being created, and then it says IO exception cannot resolve this address. And so as you can see, I connected to Kafka using my public IP of Kafka. But what came back from Kafka is you should use this entire host. And this host is the private IP of my machine. So here there's a misconfiguration because I asked Kafka to basically connect on public IP, and it came back to me with a private IP. So to make this change and to deal with these kind of errors, what I need to do is change my Kafka config to be able to use the public IP. For this, I go to Kafka and stop it. And now Kafka is stopped. So I will go and use nano to edit my config server.properties file. Now go ahead all the way down, and I will use the advertised listeners, uncomment this line, and change your host name by the public IP. So make sure to change advertised listeners line and not the listeners line. So you change this line, you exit and save, and now we're ready to start Kafka one more time. So we start Kafka, Kafka starts, and if everything goes well, yes, Kafka has started. Now if I go back to my producer and try again connecting to my topic, and say hello and then weld, well, there's no more error messages, but let's just verify this with the Kafka console consumer. So Kafka console consumer, the bootstrap server is going to be all this right here. And then the topic is my topic from beginning. And now we see in a second all the data that will appear in our console. So overall, this is perfect. We've basically set up a quick and easy Kafka broker on a VM running in the cloud. And so the trick is to basically set the advertised listeners to a correct value.